Okay, everyone. Hello, this is Demetrius Curry coming to you with W Squared AV Talk, Financially Fit Fridays. Thank you guys so much for your patience. Looked like we had a power surge here a few seconds ago, so it knocked out everything. So we had to come right back on to talk to you guys today about something that's very, very important. And thank you guys for your patience for working with us and coming back online and listening in. We have Instagram here with us. And hi, Instagram. How is everybody? Also, we have Facebook and YouTube. So if you are following us, please make sure that you go ahead and connect with us on Instagram at Demetrius underscore Curry. And then also make sure you connect with us on YouTube at Demetrius Curry. Okay. Today, I want to talk to you guys about something very, very important. This is a touchy subject for me, a very touchy subject for me. I actually started in this industry many years ago, really off of a personal situation, and I thought it was just life, right? I thought it was just life. But what I want to talk to you about is something that's been really, really helping people this week is making sure they go back to the basics. Making sure they go back to the basics. Hello, everybody. Welcome in. Welcome in. Continue to come in and say hello. Thank you so much for joining us today. And I'm excited that we have the opportunity to talk about this because it's something near and dear to my heart. And this week in particular, you guys have been watching the media. There's been a lot going on about, things that's going on in the banking world and banks that's been shutting down and people trying to figure out what to do about their livelihood and what happened to their monies. Is it going to be secured? Is it going to be insured? How to get those things back, so forth and so on. But another thing that's been going on this week is people losing their loved ones. And unfortunately, we've actually had some friends to lose their loved ones last week. We've been trying to work with them on make sure that they're okay and just checking on them and things like that, right? But this coming to you today, it feels kind of weird within itself because a lot of people know that if you've been following me for several years now, you know why I entered into the insurance industry many years ago. And you understand what prompted me to even go that direction, even though I was in the financial markets, right? One of the main things that if you are new to me and you have never followed me before in the past and you're just starting to connect with me, well, let me give you this quick testimony. As a person that went to school for business, finance, and also for banking and finance, business administration, I have degrees in those particular areas of business. I anticipated that I would be going into business really just so I can learn more about business for myself, right? But what happened was along the way, as working in the banking industry for many, many years, I started to understand why people were having financial struggles. And part of that is generational wealth. Generational wealth is just one of those things that, some of us did not have the opportunity to receive from, our family. It wasn't passed down to us as some other companies may have done for their people, or maybe some families have done for their people. We just didn't have that. Companies weren't passed down to us from our parents and our grandparents and things like that. And also, income wise, we're hurting more than some other families. But, when high school, one of the things that happened in my family is that we lost my grandfather. And when we did, I saw that my mom, who was the only child of my grandfather, had to pull things together, right? She literally, start pulling things from her savings account and cash advances to her checks, her credit cards, and things of that nature, just to make sure she can put him away nicely, right? One thing that is hard to have a conversation about is wills. One of the things to have a hard conversation about is life insurance. One of the things that is you just really don't want to talk to your family about is making arrangements. I don't want to make that conversation either. No one wants to have the conversation of, hey, just this one time, let's sit down around dinner and let me tell you what I want. It is such a hard conversation to have. It is one of the things that is hurting us so bad in creating generational wealth is that we don't want to talk about it. That it feels like you're putting me in the grave early. That's it's such a stigma that puts us in a bad situation. And then even let's say on the other side of that, let's say that you're doing well. Let's say that you have a great job. Let's say that you got income coming in on several different fronts. And you say, hey, my kids are going to be fine. They self-insured and things of that nature. That's great. How about we make sure that they know where to find your will? Make sure they know what you want in your living will. Make sure that your health proxy is already put together, right? That people know that you have already made a plan and you have an idea of what you want to happen for yourself. Let's just say, for instance, that you're in a really great financial position and you have just 2 or 3 kids. And those 2 or 3 kids, they're all adults now, right? Let's say that those adults are not necessarily in good communication with each other. If you put things down in writing of what you want for your family and what you want for your kids to have, then there is no dispute. There is no fight. This is what mom said. You know what I'm saying? And so I want to know, what should I do in the event of? Where do I find your paperwork, mom? Where do I find your documents, dad? What exactly should I do in the event of? Do we have a trust? If not, do we have a trust attorney? Do we have an attorney at all? Do we have an accountant? You know, is my name listed on your bank accounts as a beneficiary if something was to happen to you, where I can at least go in while you're in the hospital and make transactions for you, or to make payments to your utilities for you while you are trying to recover? Those things are the conversations we need to be having. And I'm so glad that, I'm talking to you about this today. And I apologize. I'm a little emotional about this particular uh, conversation because, in the last week and a half, maybe 2 weeks, we have seen so many of clients, friends, colleagues that have lost loved ones. And in losing those loved ones, they thought things were in place, or they really did everything that they possibly could do on their end to try to make things were actually scheduled out. But there was no way of knowing that some things were missed until an emergency happened. So what I want to talk to you about, and what I'm talking to you about today, is let's go back to the basics. Go back to the basics of actually having a conversation with your spouse. You talk about everything else. You talk about everything else. You talk about your hairdos. You talk about what kind of car you want to drive. You talk about how good he looks in that suit. You also talk about happy anniversary. My baby, you did me so well over the last 10, 15 years. Oh, love, I want to go on vacation. You talk about everything else. Everything. But you don't want to talk about, listen, babe, I want to make sure you're taken care of if something happens to me. I want to make sure that you know what I want if I go into the hospital and can't speak for myself. I'm giving you power of attorney to actually do what you need to do to make sure I'm good when it's time for me to do what I need to do. Okay? I want to emphasize on this Financially Fit Friday that we can't talk about being financially fit if we don't have an idea of what's going to happen with our kids and our family, if we're not in a position to speak for ourselves. And I'm not talking about you just dying. I'm talking about you actually being in a position where you are needing to rest. that you are in a hospital or possibly recovering, and you're not able to speak for yourself at that time, who do you trust to speak for you, to actually make sure that things are in place? So if you would like to make sure that what your wants are and your desires are put on paper, then you have the opportunity to start pulling the basics together, guys. We're talking about making sure your life insurance is in order. And listen, yes, I am a life insurance agent, but this is not a ploy for you to hire our team to be your life insurance agent of choice. I don't care who your agent is. I want to make sure, as a wealth strategist and what I do as a coach, in telling you, when I'm talking to you about generational wealth, and we're talking about that octopus of legs of income, cash flows, we're talking about all these different things that you could be doing to create cash flow, earnings, income, making sure you got residual passive income. While we're talking about all that, on that octopus of legs is life insurance, wills, trust, formation of your documents. All those things have to be put into place as part of your plan of action to creating generational wealth. Because what is the point of having all these wonderful assets? What is the point of having all these cash flows that when something happens to you and you're not able to speak for yourself, or you're not in a position to speak for yourself, please make sure that you have those things in place, or who is going to be in control to making sure that your wishes are actually sought and done, that your wishes are fulfilled. And so I get really emotional about this particular part, because I don't know if some of you guys was with me a couple years ago, but if you have not heard the testimony that I gave a few years ago with this 16-year-old girl that found me online, and it must have been no, it was 2019. In 2019, when we were just starting this whole COVID thing, we had a young lady that found me online, and she said that her mom had passed the night before, and she didn't know what to do. And she had a sibling that was only 6 years old at that time. I didn't know this young girl. I was not her mom's agent. She just found me online. But when I talked to her on the phone, she said that my mom always told me if something was to happen to me, to actually look in the shoebox underneath the foot of the bed. In that shoebox was her life insurance policy. It was her passport. It was her other forms of ID. It was some of her credit cards that she don't necessarily use. And it was a whole bunch of stuff that was in there that her daughter was able to find, like a birth certificate and things of that nature, that she was able to find. Now, this is the problem. Her mom did not have a great relationship with her siblings. And she wanted her to know what to do to take that information to her grandma if something was to happen. Well, guess what? Grandma had already passed. And there was nobody else there that could actually help her to get everything situated, right? We ended up talking her through the process. We found who her insurance agent was. We were able to help her find her aunts and aunties that was out on the West Coast. And all of these things that we end up doing to try to help find help for this young girl who was a teenager and was now going into adulthood right at 16. Guys, it's important to be able to know that where to go for your stuff. Where do mom and dad, sister and brother, where is your daughter's information? Where is your child's information on what's going on in their lives in the event of? So while we're doing generational wealth, And I know you guys are following every single week, and thank you so much for being a part. I'm so glad that you're here. But while you're doing that, and we're talking about, being an entrepreneur, and we're talking about building their business credit, and we're talking about how to actually, get more residual real estate underneath your belt, making sure that you get cash flows, and all these things that we're talking about. One thing I need you to talk about first, before you talk about any of that, one thing I need you to talk about first is I need you to talk about making sure your family is good. I hope you guys hear me today. Making sure that your family is good and have that real, I don't think it's a hard conversation. I mean, it is a responsible conversation. It's your responsibility to make sure that, oh, my family's good. That when I leave here, not only do they miss me because I'm leaving here, I don't want them to hurt for that and to hurt because I didn't have my stuff together. I don't want them to hurt because not only do they miss me, but now they got to try to figure it out because I didn't have it together, and I could have. I could have easily put this stuff together and made sure that my baby boy was good. I could have easily put this stuff together and make sure that you guys know exactly where to go to find my documents. I could have easily said, hey, I need to talk to my accountant and make sure they have you listed as a beneficiary if I was to pass. I could have easily said, guess what? You guys are my children, and I'm going to split these assets up evenly between y'all, and it's already written in my will, and I'm giving you power of attorney to help me with this, that, and the other. I could have easily did that and know that when y'all are crying for me, that you're crying because you're thinking about all the wonderful memories that we had together, but not because I left you with a mess of responsibility to figure out. So guys, I want to say thank you for being here with me. I'm glad that you guys are here with me. And to talk more about what it's like to continue on doing what we need to do, right? I am excited that we are working together, not only into building generational wealth, but to also understand that it's more to it than just cash flows. It's more to it than that, than just cash flows. It's all about where do you want to be and making sure that your family is good. I see that we have a question here, and I want to make sure I answer this question before we leave. How frequently should you review your information? I look at my information at least every 2 years. That's just me. I try to make sure that everything is included the way it should be included every 2 years. If there's any additional assets that need to be done, that is actually in there. Okay. If there needs to be some changes in beneficiary names, addresses, telephone numbers, email address, all that, I make sure it's updated, you know. And then also, you want to also make sure that your family knows the most updated information. If you change insurance companies, you want to make sure they know what your new insurance company name is, right? So every 2 years I review, but on an average, they said to also look at it every 4 to 5 years. I think that's too far out. I think every 2 years in this changing market is best for you to actually review just to make sure that everything is lined up when it comes to assets like your bank account information, beneficiaries, if you're changing that kind of stuff on your assets. Your life insurance policy depends on whether you have a long-term 30-year policy or if you're doing something short-term like a 5 to 10 year, you want to review that before that particular policy is set to expire. Okay. So anyway, I'm just so glad that you guys are here to listen to this. And I'm sorry I went over just a little bit, but this is a very important conversation to me, and it should be for you. Okay. Thank you guys so much for being here with me on Financially Fit Fridays. I apologize. This is Dee. This is just who I am. I'm very, very passionate about making sure that people understand that you can't build wealth without thinking about what's going to happen to the next generation down from you. That's what generational wealth is all about. passing it down, right? So thank you guys so much for being here with us on this Financially Fit Friday. We got more stuff coming your way next week. And I thank you for your time and thank you for your patience. Make sure you connect with us on Instagram at Demetrius_Curry and on YouTube at Demetrius Curry. Talk to you guys soon. Bye bye.